Hey, welcome to New York, man.
Thank you.
What is it about the New York Jets that makes you feel like you can establish yourself or cement your place as a starting NFL quarterback? What about the situation do you really like?
Yeah, I think just the people, in the building, the coaches, my teammates, and really just everybody that's ready to, get this thing rolling and get this thing going. So, of course, I know everybody around here is very excited, and so am I. So, I'm really just ready to get to work.
What are your thoughts on being reunited with Garrett Wilson, and how can you guys both complement each other, make each other better?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. Of course, we played together in college, and, when I saw him, it's really just like the old days. So I don't think our relationship skipped a beat. So, of course, I'm definitely excited to play with him, guys like Ruck and, Josh Myers. So I'm excited for that, and, of course, things that we can do to help get each other better, just, get back on the same page as we were in college, and, of course, communicate, make sure we're always on the same page when it comes to concepts and routes and what he's doing in certain situations. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to be back on the field with him for sure.
Justin, when we were talking to Aaron Glenn last week in Florida at the owners' meetings, he said that while you're a dynamic runner, their hope is to really develop you as a quarterback, to let you truly play the quarterback position, which he felt that maybe wasn't the case in your two previous stops. I'm wondering if you could speak to that and whether you feel like in the previous stops you didn't get a chance to fully play the quote unquote the position.
I mean, I think I was asked to, I did what I was asked to do, and I've never had a problem with that. I've always been a team player. I've always been, advocating on, putting, myself behind the team. So, like I said, I'm not really gonna get too much into depth on, what was happened in Chicago and what happened last year with Pittsburgh. But like I said, I'm grateful for all the experiences that I've had. I met a lot of great people there, built a lot of great relationships that'll last a lifetime. And I think, of course, the more time you have in the league, the more experience you have. So, like I said, I think I'm progressing and getting better each and every year. So, like I said, I'm excited to get things rolling this year.
Justin, what did you like about this offense? What did you like about this coaching staff that made you want to come here?
Yeah, of course, I've played, AG multiple times while I was in Chicago and he was in Detroit. So I know his passion for the game. I know how he coaches his players. I know kind of his mentality with the game of football. So, of course, I'm, excited for that part. And, of course, we got Tanner, who also came from Detroit, and the things they do on offense and how they utilize the players that they have. So I'm excited to get rolling into that and, him being able to utilize the players that we have and, just, having them do the things that, fit their game.
Justin, what do you think of the offensive line that's going to be in front of you here?
Yeah, I'm excited. Excited to, of course, we've been working out a couple of days, so been building relationships with them and excited to get to work with them. But, I don't know too much about them yet. So, kind of just going to build that relationship over time and get to know the guys for sure.
Well, the reason I ask is the Jets have the number 7 pick in the draft. So, as a quarterback, they could either get you another protector or they could get you another weapon. What do you say?
I think that's above my pay grade. So, I'm going to roll with whatever they choose.
Justin, how do you look at this opportunity in particular for you, knowing a few years ago you came in, as a rookie, 2 teams later? What is this opportunity for you? Is there something you want to prove to yourself, to others? How do you view this situation?
Definitely something that I want to prove to myself, and I think, my expectations for myself are, higher than anybody else's, to be honest with you. So something to prove for myself. And again, I think I've been improving each year I've been in the league. So I look to do the same this year, to be honest with you. But like I said, I think my expectations for myself are, higher than you guys, is higher than, all other people in this building. So like I said, I'm excited to get to work and get things going.
Justin, how do you reflect back on how last season went for you? You played those 6 games or whatever it was, and then got benched. I'm just curious, how do you reflect on it and how you had over these last few months?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. So, I was put in a place where I wasn't, really never in a place my entire life. So I think, I tried to have a different perspective on it. Of course, Russ has been in the league for a long time, so I learned a lot of great things from him, and got to kind of learn a different perspective of things. And like I said, he's been in the league a long time, so just seeing how he works every day, seeing his routine, and picking up things that I can implement into my routine, into my game. So it was, of course, different for me in a space where I wasn't necessarily comfortable. But at the end of the day, like I said, Coach Tomlin, he made a decision where he thought was best for the team, and like I said, I'm never gonna go against that. Of course, I'm not a selfish guy whatsoever. So like I said, I just tried to change my perspective, get better each and every day in practice, and yeah.
Justin, when you say that your expectations are higher than everybody, what are those expectations?
I like to keep them to myself, but just in terms of my play, I know what I can do on the field. I've been playing this game for a long time, and I know what I'm capable of. So yeah.
We've seen examples in recent years of quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, who sometimes they don't hit their stride until they're on their third or even in some cases their fourth team. How does that resonate with you? Because you're in kind of a similar situation. Can you be that next guy to break through?
I mean, I think I can for sure. But like I said, I think everybody's journey is different. Nobody's journey is the same. So, they're those guys, it happened for them, like you said, on the third or fourth team. And, of course, I'm definitely hoping for it to, happen here in New York. But, I mean, like I said, everybody's not the same. Everybody's different. So, I think those guys kind of kept their head down. They didn't let too many things in the outside world shake them. They kept working, and, they flourished, of course, in Tampa Bay and Minnesota. So, yeah.
Justin, did the way things played out in Pittsburgh, like you talked about, did that factor in? Was that playing in your mind at all as you headed towards free agency, whether you were considering Pittsburgh or the Jets or whatever?
Not really. In this league, you tend. I mean, I kind of have the mindset you can't take things personal. That's one thing I've learned over the years, not to take anything personal. And at the end of the day, I was just excited, of what the Jets had going on here with AG and just with the coaching staff and everything like that. So it wasn't more so. It didn't really have anything to do with Pittsburgh, but just the opportunity I had here to make an impact and, of course, get things going. So yeah.
Justin, what do you remember about the draft and the Jets? They obviously ended up picking Zach, but did you come here on a visit? Different regime? Did you meet with ownership? What do you remember about your pre-draft with the Jets?
No. So that year was COVID. That year was COVID, so I didn't take any visits. We didn't even have any of that. So yeah.
Hey, a couple more, Justin. A couple more.
Did you think there was a chance you were going to end up here then, or you knew not so?
I pretty much knew. I think my agent talked to somebody, but we kind of knew the first kind of 3 draft picks were kind of set in place. So yeah. What if
the Jets take a quarterback here, whether it's 7, second round, whatever? How do you feel about the possibility of a young guy who might, you might have to mentor or could be nipping at your heels?
I don't really like to answer rhetorical questions, but like I said, I'm willing to teach. But yeah, I'm not really interested in rhetorical questions. So.
Justin, Aaron Glenn talked about how he likes to shape the offense around the players that he has, as opposed to trying to fit players into a scheme. What is that like for you as a player going into this offense, going, okay, Aaron and Aaron Glenn are going to try and build this offense around my skill set? Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I think Detroit, they did a good job last year. Of course, fitting their scheme into what players they had. So I think the biggest thing that we have to do here is kind of just see what guys can do, their strengths, and just implement those ways into our offense, into the scheme, and how we want to use certain guys.
Justin, the Jets have not had the greatest history of quarterbacks. Even a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's going to the Hall of Fame, had some ups and downs. What is it about you that gives you the confidence, either something physically or your leadership style gives you the belief that you can be the one to end that sort of trend?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I've been on good teams. I've been on bad teams. So just the mindset and really just, like you said, the leadership. And AG has been in the same situation to where, Detroit, they didn't start off hot. So I think he knows how to take a bad situation and turn it into a good one. So, I've seen, I've been on teams that have been, 3-14 and stuff like that. And of course, last year, Pittsburgh, we had a pretty good team making it to the playoffs and had a hot start. So I've seen both sides of it. So, I can kind of tell the difference between just the characteristics of a team that is not doing so well and the characteristics of a good team. So, of course, really just trying to implement that into, our team and try to get all the, good characteristics and just find the recipe of, what makes us a playoff team. So, yeah.
Despite the way it ended last year, that stretch that you had, you played pretty well. Did that kind of restore some confidence for you personally in that, you can get this job done, you could do this, you could be an NFL star?
I mean, most definitely, but to be honest with you, my confidence never left me. I feel like when your confidence leaves you, then you have zero chance. So, you can take however many losses in life in this game, but you can never lose your confidence. You can, never lose your will to work and get things done. So, no matter how many, losses and stuff like that, I'm never going to lose my confidence, in life or, in this game. So, yeah, like I said, just excited to be here and, get to work and get this thing going. So.
Good morning, Brandon. Thanks for your time. Could you just describe to us what the free agent process was like for you and what was the key or keys that led you to the Jets?
Yeah, the process, it was pretty simple, and straightforward. Obviously it was my first time going through free agency, so I didn't know, what to expect. But, man, I did my homework, on the Jets, and, I really liked, the coaching staff, bringing in Aaron Glenn, Coach Wilkes and Coach Bly, and, just doing my research on them and, just seeing their style, it was a pretty easy decision for me.
Brandon, what do you think you're going to bring to this team and this defense?
Yeah, man, I'm bringing a lot. I think first and foremost it comes with that leadership. You know what I mean, and just building that camaraderie with the team. But just bringing a style, aggressive style, physical style. Style that a lot of opponents don't want to face. And so along with other things. But I think it just starts there.
What has stood out to you so far about Coach Aaron Glenn?
Yeah, man, he's a great guy, man. My first opportunity talking to him was the first day of workouts, the other day, and he's really direct, straight to the point, black and white, no gray area, and he preaches that. But he's definitely about his business, and I think that's what I appreciate most about him.
Have you gone against Justin Fields in your career? And either way, what do you think of him as a quarterback?
Yeah, I think my first time facing him was this past season. Couple plays, but I've looked at him from afar. When he was in Chicago, and I think he's the right man for the job. I think he has what it takes to lead this offense. Lead this team, and I think the sky's the limit.
Brandon, you were one of the most frequently targeted corners last year in the league. I'm wondering, what are some of the factors that you think went into that? Yeah,
I mean, that's not really one of my concerns as to why it happened. The ball's in the air. My job is to make a play on it. I don't try to question why the ball's in the air to my side. But yeah.
Are you anticipating that again this year with Sauce on the other side? And what do you think of the two of you as a combo?
Could you repeat the question?
Are you anticipating that again this year with Sauce on the other side? Maybe you getting targeted more? And what do you think of you two as a cornerback combo?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a hell of a combo. I'm excited for it. I think we're just going to make each other better. I'll be able to learn from him. He'll be able to learn from me. And so I think it's going to be exciting.
how does having you and Sauce are obviously bigger type corners, with length, what kind of an advantage can that be when you're facing some of these, amazing receivers that you guys are going to face throughout the year?
Yeah, I think length is everything for a DB. Size is everything. Along with technique and whatnot. But I think there's not many duos in this league that have our size. And I think that's for our advantage. Whether that's in the passing game or in the run game. You know what I mean? We have interchangeable parts on this defense, and so I think size is definitely beneficial.
Brandon, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Yep. You come from a team that won a lot, expected to win a lot in Baltimore. Can you translate that to the Jets who haven't won a lot? Can you bring that kind of attitude to a bunch of new guys, or is that something they have to learn on their own?
No, man, I think that's definitely something that I can bring, to this team. Obviously, like you said, I come from a winning organization, and they haven't had as much success here. But I didn't shy away from the opportunity of bringing that here and being a part of that. And so I think it'll happen soon. I think success is on its way. But obviously, we got to put the work in and put the time in, and the results will show.
When we were talking to Aaron Glenn a week or so ago down in Florida at the league meetings, he said he's looking forward to working with you in terms of improving your ball skills and turning some of your tight coverage into, PBUs and interceptions. Can you just talk about working with a guy like him? And also, I don't think you had any interceptions last year. Is that a function of anything, or do you think that's an area where you can definitely improve?
Yeah, obviously it's an area that I can improve on, and that's why I'm just excited to work with Coach Glenn. He's been there, done that. He's made the plays. He's seen all types of concepts, and so just learning from him, as well as the rest of the staff, I think that'll be beneficial to me, which benefits this defense.
What did you know about Andre Cisco, and what do you think he's going to bring to this defense?
Yeah, man, Andre, he's a hard hat, man. He comes ready to play. I was able to play, play the Jaguars, I think 2 years ago at their place, and he was a guy that I had an eye on. But yeah, he's a physical player. Knows the game really well. And so, man, I'm just excited to get to work with him and, just, see how he sees the game, so we could be on the same page.
Hey, Jamien, how you doing? Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
No problem.
So what's kind of a momentous offseason for you, signing that contract and coming back here under a new coach? Could you just walk us through what that process was like?
For me, the process was full of excitement, as a kid. And as you get older, going through Little League, the high school, college, to getting drafted, and then to the free agent market, it's big. Again, you work your whole life to reach an accomplishment like that and to be able to help take care of your friends and family. So for me, it was just exciting. Obviously I left it all in God's hand, and, I let my play speak for itself. But ultimately, God put me right where he wanted me to be, and, I'm thankful for everything that has happened.
Jamie, what's it been like getting to know Coach Glenn? What are your interactions been like with him?
It's been great. Coach Glenn, he's a great guy. He'll be a great mentor for us all. And, for me, it's good, to have a coach like that has played, and I can see where he's coming from and understand where he's coming from. As being a player, he can teach me how he saw it. And along with the other coaches, they also played as well. So just having all those different perspectives all in one is big for all of us as players.
Jamie, what do you think of the additions on defense, particularly Brandon Stevens and Andre Cisco?
I think they're great. Watching their tape, two phenomenal players. Cisco, we actually came out of high school at the same time in the 2018 class. I had a friend on Jacksonville, so I used to watch the Jaguars pretty often, and he's been a great player since since college and high school as well. You know, he's a ball hawk. Same thing with Brandon Stevens, very long, physical corner. And, you know, I'm excited to play alongside the both of them this season.
Jamie, along those same lines, how about Justin Fields? You guys are around the same age. He was kind of a high school legend there around that time. Do you know him at all? Have you faced him at all? What do you think about playing with him?
Just watching him, same thing throughout high school and college. You know, he was a great player, like you said, legend from where he comes from. You know, he did great things at the college level. I went to Auburn, as you guys know, and he was at Georgia. So, you know, when he actually left Georgia, you know, it was kind of good for us. You know, he went to a different school because having a guy like that who can throw and run, you know, that's kind of sometimes detrimental to a defense. So, same thing for him. I'm excited and grateful to play alongside him this season. You know, I can't wait to see him do great things.
Jamie, what have the first few days of the offseason program been like? What are they doing with you guys? What are they trying to instill?
It's been great. You know, it's only day 3, but, you know, it feels good. You know, you can feel the energy. You can feel the excitement throughout the building, the intensity from all our coaches. For me, it's just, you know, it just feels like I've known everybody since day 1. But, you know, everybody's coming from different places. We got a lot of new people. But, again, you know, just to getting to know my new teammates, seeing my old teammates, and, you know, just building that bond and those relationships amongst with each other. Main thing around here for these next couple phases is, you know, just getting bigger, faster, stronger, and again, just building relationships amongst each other. Just trying to change the culture and build an environment. Like you said earlier, we got new coaches, we got new teammates, old teammates. So it's just, again, mending all those relationships and personalities together to create one unit.
Jamie, last year was such a big breakout year for you, right? And huge season. What's the next step, you feel like, for you?
For me, obviously, you know, continuing the same type of play, you know, getting a little bit better each and every day. But for me, it's just taking a bigger leadership role. You know, just like we said, I had a big offseason signing a new deal. But for me, you know, that only happened because of the teammates that I had. And to me, that doesn't mean nothing if I can't bring along people with me. You know, it means everything that I can take care of my family now, but I want to help somebody else do the same for their family. So, you know, teaching people the process and staying down the way that I stayed down, and when I got my opportunity, just rising to the occasion. So helping people study, play harder, doing whatever they have to do, so when their time comes next year and years to come, they're put in the same situation.
Jamie, what's it like not having Aaron Rodgers around anymore?
You know, Aaron Rodgers was a great person, a great player, obviously. You know, he taught everybody in this building a lot just in the 2 years he was here. He taught me a lot just from being a younger backer, you know, seeing how he saw the defense plays. And, you know, obviously when we practiced against each other, he did great things with his eyes that helped put me in a position. So I can say, you know, he helped create a standard for myself and those other guys on offense. So he really basically left a mark on all of us. Again, he just taught us all so much in a short span of time that we can all carry the rest of our lives, the rest of our football careers. So he meant a lot to us, I'll say that.
Can you describe will there be a scheme adjustment for you going from what you played previously to what Aaron Glenn's and Wilkes' scheme is? He had bigger type linebackers in Detroit, so I'm wondering how you fit into that scheme or style of play you have.
Personally, I feel like we all fit in the same way that his guys fit in Detroit. You know, he kept who he wanted here, and, you know, going forward, as we get through these phases of OTAs, you know, we'll learn it. Right now, we're just going through, again, building those relationships amongst each other, getting to know our teammates. And the main goal right now is just getting bigger, faster, stronger. As time comes, you know, we'll understand and we'll get to learn how the defense will work. But right now, again, we're just trying to get to know each other better.